morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 28th, and you're riding with me on my morning drive. And as usual, we'll be talking politics for about the next 20 or 30 minutes, so hopefully we'll be talking about something you're interested in. Well, stories of the day would have to be, again, Trayvon Martin. We have found out some interesting new news, which pretty much validates what we've pretty much been thinking all along, which is that the shooter, George Zimmerman, should be arrested. And turns out the lead investigator originally wanted to arrest George Zimmerman and charge him with manslaughter. But of course, the state attorney that was on the case overrode him. And so that's what we were left with, was this nonsense about stand your ground and whatever else. So he was never arrested. And so this is where we stand now with public outrage. But hopefully, in light of this new development, we will get an arrest. And honestly, I mean, I think manslaughter is not, I mean, granted that would be better than nothing, but this is murder. And like Mike Papantonio said, I mean, premeditation can occur within as little as 3 to 5 minutes of the murder. So, you know, I can say that, well, maybe George Zimmerman was wanting to pursue Trayvon Martin and nail him, but didn't necessarily have the intention of shooting him dead. But on the other hand, you know, the thing that really galls me about all this, that nobody's really talking about specifically, is that George Zimmerman, and I mentioned this in passing, but I want to focus on it a little bit more. George Zimmerman was a 240 or 50 pound dude, 28-year-old guy. I mean, Trayvon Martin's a 160 pound 17-year-old kid. I mean, are you going to tell me this guy who's supposedly being trained or training or whatever with a criminal justice background, training to be a police officer? First of all, if you want to be in the line of law enforcement and you can't even take down or restrain or handle a 17-year-old 160 pound kid without having to kill him, you got some issues, dude. I mean, either you're a serious wuss or you have no business being in that line of work, and I think you need to find a different line of work. First of all. Secondly, why didn't he own a taser? He should have had a taser for doing that kind of stuff, not a gun where you're going to shoot and kill somebody on the spot. I mean, that's so stupid. You know, if he had a taser, Trayvon Martin probably wouldn't be dead right now. Not to say that I think Trayvon Martin should have been tasered, so please don't get me wrong on that. I don't think anything should have happened to Trayvon Martin. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, if he would have really been like a law enforcement officer, Trayvon Martin wouldn't be dead right now. But no, the dumbass had to go and shoot him. So that's where we are. And of course, the wheels of justice are now moving somewhat again, and hopefully we will get the answers that everyone should have gotten from day one, and hopefully we'll see an arrest soon, because it's just unacceptable that these parents and the family are having to go through this nightmarish hell where people are are now saying, oh, he was suspended from school 3 times, and he had a baggie in his book bag that had traces of marijuana on it. It's like, who gives a crap? It doesn't have any influence on this. All they're trying to do is smear his character and try to raise the notion that he might have been thuggish or something. You know how these idiots are. And of course they had to politicize it because guns are involved, and we're questioning their superior wisdom on passing the stupid stand your ground law, all because the NRA and ALEC had their hand in everything as usual. And that's the thing, is it's freaking rather annoying that we have to continually deal with these assholes who think they know more than everybody else and never do. They're always wrong about everything. Which leads me into the next portion of our show here, which is the healthcare debacle in the Supreme Court with these assholes in the Supreme Court, these conservative justices sitting on their freaking partisan political perches, just raining down their superior wisdom and their freaking derisive and sarcastic, stupid comments on everybody, as if Scalia is saying, oh, we're not stupid. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Well, we're not stupid either, you asshole. So don't sit up there and try to make some analogy. Are you going to make us buy broccoli? Are you going to make us buy cell phones so you make sure we all respond? Man, shut the fuck up. I'm about tired of these assholes. Somebody needs to freaking just appoint some new Supreme Court justices to take the place of these conservative idiots, because these guys are morons, man. All they're concerned about is their partisan politics, and that is a freaking travesty. The Supreme Court should be an impartial body that rules on legal cases, not a political entity. I mean, good Lord, man. It's basically another fucking extension of the political party right up there on Capitol Hill in the Supreme Court. And nothing we can do about it. These jerks get to freaking keep turning out the same happy horse shit. Wonderful things like Citizens United. I mean, we're just all thrilled. Which, that's the thing, man. I'm sorry, but the Republicans, they should be called the boat anchor party. The reason I say that is because, it's like this country is swimming in a vast ocean, and you've got these idiots that are basically like having tied a boat anchor to your ankle while you're trying to swim, and you just keep getting pulled down, and there's nothing you can do about it because they keep dragging us down and dragging us down. Healthcare, we want to do something to reform healthcare so everybody can benefit from it, because there's a lot of benefits that have already been realized and a lot more that will be realized if this law is upheld. But no, we have to have lawsuits from Republican assholes who the only thing they got stuck up their butt is the fact that Obama won the election still. So they're dragging us down. Like last night, Jennifer Granholm on her show was talking about how, the Obama administration now has enacted tariffs on solar panels coming from China to try to level the playing field, because I think 47% of our solar panels that are installed in this country are coming from China, and only 29% are from this country. But the even greater point here is that China has begun such a strong alternative energy initiative that within the next 5 years they're going to increase their solar power output by 500%, and their wind output is going to be increased by 300%, triple. Hello? We can't possibly enact any kind of initiative, or any kind of legislation, or take any kind of an initiative like that because of the boat anchor party just dragging us down. We can barely keep our freaking head above water because these assholes want to keep us back, spinning our wheels. They want to roll the clock back. They're regressive, not progressive. And the sad fact of the matter is we're just letting them do it. I mean, there were so many benefits to going to clean energy, really clean energy, and not nuclear, because nuclear sucks. Nuclear has a back-end waste issue that is expensive as hell, and you can, trumpet nuclear all you want till the cows come home, but it's friggin' expensive. And if you're going to spend all that money on nuclear, when you combine the waste disposal and to build the plant, modern plants like they need to be built in order to ensure no disasters, it's expensive, and you just can't get around that. But people like to, act as if nuclear is such a cheap alternative. No, it's not. It's freaking expensive as hell. So, I'm sorry, but nuclear ain't the answer, people. We need solar and wind, and then we need other issues, obviously other like geothermal and even natural gas to a point, but they got to get that fracking shit under control. That's got to be, somebody's going to find either a safer and non-toxic method of fracking or just some other way to harvest natural gas, because fracking's not the way to do it. It's just a nightmare from an environmental standpoint, and it wastes millions of gallons of water, which water is absolutely the most precious resource in the world, and we're just pissing it away like we've got it to spare. And that's just lovely. But this boat anchor party, in every way imaginable, they're dragging us down. They're keeping us from swimming anywhere. We're just treading water, barely keeping our head above water, sitting there in place. They're trying to repeal Obamacare. And of course, the healthcare law, as the CBO shows, will reduce the deficit by $138 billion over the next decade. And of course, the Fox News robots and zombies and ditto heads and all these other right-wing brainwashed morons will run around and spew all their nonsense about how Obamacare is going to bankrupt the country and it's going to add $1 trillion in new expenses and taxes and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And, you can't have an argument with people that are starting out with a foundation for their argument that comes from La La Land. You just can't. How can you have a fact-based discussion with people that don't deal in facts? Because they don't. They just absolutely don't. Because they're brainwashed to think that Obamacare this and Obamacare that, but the fact of the matter is it's going to lower the deficit. Nonpartisan, CBO, Congressional Budget Office. They're the people that crunch the numbers on legislation, that tell us whether a particular set of legislation is going to be feasible or not from a fiscal standpoint. It's been determined. It's a nonpartisan organization. Although when their numbers don't jive with what the right wing want, then they start accusing them of being a liberally influenced entity, and that's just ridiculous. The nonsense involved with dealing with people that don't want to talk about things based on fact is maddening. It really is. And so that's kind of where we're at, is how do you have a fact-based discussion with people that have been so polarized and propagandized through conservative media outlets? It's impossible. And that's what's really scary about where we're going as a country, is because you've got a percentage of the population, granted I think it's only about a third of the population, which is still quite a pretty big number, that is pretty well brainwashed, or in some ways brainwashed into thinking that all these Obama derangement syndrome ideas, like Obama's a socialist and he's a Muslim and all these other things. I mean, that's a pretty large number of people to think that way, and it's pretty scary. But only a third of the country, which I think is representative of that number, thinks that Obamacare should be repealed. So there are still a pretty good number of us out there that are of sane mind and try to listen to just news as much as possible instead of nothing but non-stop opinion packaged as news. And that's the difference between the right and the left. You can say, oh, well, the left spins it too. Well, you know what? Yeah, you might get a little bit of spin on the left. I'll give you that much. I think I've caught Ed Schultz once or twice spinning something, and granted, it might have been a little bit, the spin, it was a harmless spin, though. It wasn't anything that was making people believe something hardcore that was absolutely false, because the people on the left generally are intellectually curious. They want to get to the bottom of the truth. The people on the right, they tend to inject their opinion into things constantly and act as if it were fact. Like, case in point, like I said about the healthcare law. The Republicans, they spew this nonsense about, Obamacare this and Obamacare that, it's going to bankrupt our country and blah, 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 blah. And they believe that wholeheartedly. And if you have a conversation with them, that's all they're going to talk about. They're going to spew those Fox News talking points, and they're just going to stick to them. And you cannot sway them from that. No matter if Jesus Christ himself came down to earth and said, this is the way of it, they would say, no, you're a liar, or you're not Jesus. Talk to you later. Because that's how brainwashed they are. Because getting back to what I said before, and I'll repeat it again, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, says it's going to save $140 billion over the next decade. That's not bankrupting the country. That's fiscally responsible. Even if it were, like I said yesterday, even if it were revenue neutral, even if it was a break-even scenario, all things being equal, we're better off under it. Because many people, I went over the benefits yesterday. If you didn't catch yesterday's broadcast, you can go listen to it again. And if you want to email me at mymorningdrive@shredoftruth.com, or visit our website at shredoftruth.com, you can leave me comments, or a lot of the stuff I'm talking about are in news stories that are on the site. But that's a good example, is the Obamacare argument. You're talking about people that are coming from two different places, and the people on the left are generally intellectually curious to get to the bottom of the truth. They want to report the truth. They want to report the news. They don't want to just bundle they inject their opinion, but generally they make it known that's their opinion. They don't sit there and say, something that is obviously opinion and make you think that it's news, like Rush Limbaugh and the Sandra Fluke thing, saying that she's having so much sex she wants us to pay for her sex, for her having sex, because she wants free contraception. No, that's not true. That's fucking false. She went on Capitol Hill and testified about women, friends of hers, a specific friend of hers who had ovarian cysts, and that birth control pills resolved that disorder for her. And as soon as she couldn't afford them anymore because they weren't free, she went off of them. She had cyst problems. Now she can't have children. She said nothing about her own contraception or wanting free contraception herself, first of all. Secondly, Rush Limbaugh must be a complete dipshit because, and we know that, but he's sitting there talking like women's contraception is like Viagra, where you have to take a pill every time you want to have sex. And all it is, it's not like that. Like my wife had said, she could get a patch that lasts for a month. She could take a pill a day. That's how birth control for women works. They take a pill a day. And, a pill a day keeps the pregnancy fairy away. That's what it is, Rush. Are you that stupid? No, he's not that stupid. The problem is he's just spewing this misinformation out to his viewers because he wants to get them bunged up, and he thinks that's what a bunch of people want to hear. Because this whole hatred thing for Obama and for people on the left has snowballed into no longer, those guys wanting to necessarily inform people with real news, but to see how much they can incite them, not necessarily into violence, although I think I don't know that they mean that per se, but that's the end result, is you get people so bunged up and so frothed up and into such a hatred for all people on the left, including the President of the United States, that it ultimately ends up being violent, because you know how people are. And so that's kind of why, I say that, people on the right, and MediaMatters.org is a good example. I mean, are there any websites that anybody knows of? If there are, please email them. That their sole function is to monitor and debunk what's broadcast on liberal media, on the left, like MSNBC, Current TV, or anything like that, or they even think CNN is liberal, even though they have a bunch of Republican talking heads on there. It's balanced. They have both on there. I mean, I think CNN is pretty balanced. Of course, you have to endure right-wing thuggery on there, and then you get to hear left-wing people as well. But as I said, I'm not going to say that people on the left, the talking heads or any of that, are beyond reproach. I'm certainly not saying that. But having listened to them for so long, and then listening to these idiots on the right, and if you go to MediaMatters.org, you can see how much misinformation and how much distortions of the truth, or even just outright lies, are broadcast on Fox News and by these idiots in the conservative media, and it's pretty hard to argue. I mean, why can't we just stay based on facts? Why can't we stay rooted in the truth? What is so hard about that? Why is that such a problem for people on the right? The reason why is because it doesn't. If we stay with the truth, it won't allow them to continue with their agenda. They have to brainwash people in order for them to believe in their agenda, because their agenda has been a proven failure time and again. Their agenda, economically, socially, whatever, is an abject failure. Period. End of discussion. The data is undeniable. The results are in. They have been for years, and they're pretty miserable. And I don't know how people can go around telling themselves that they should vote Republican, because they're deluded. I mean, I don't understand how you would, think that voting Republican right now is going to be in anybody's best interest except for the ultra rich. I just don't. I don't understand what you're thinking when you're voting that way, if you're middle class, or because, as middle class people right now, the Republican Party, they want to tell you that they're for fiscal responsibility and for family values and this and that, but all you have to do is look at the Paul Ryan budget, and that will tell you exactly where their priorities lie. And as usual, it lies with the uber rich. The sad fact of the matter is that you've got people that, are voting based on one issue, like abortion, which to me is a red herring. You can have that abortion fight all you want, but you shouldn't vote for a president based on it, because whoever is president has not historically affected statistics. If you went on who was president as to, keeping abortions down or whatever, the statistics don't jive. When pro-lifers are in office, the statistics are no better. They're actually worse than under pro-choice candidates. You can go look at the statistics if you don't believe me. People are brainwashed. But then we already knew that. So, anyways, the Boat Anchor Party is doing a wonderful job of keeping us from going anywhere. We could soar to the highest heights. We could create millions of jobs with green energy. We could do so many things that would have, multiple benefits, like an infrastructure bank, a WPA, Works Progress Administration, which is was part of the New Deal back in FDR's time. If we put people to work building infrastructure and doing green energy, not only would we create millions of jobs, but we would solidify our place in the world as an alternative energy player. And certainly not a leader, because you look at Germany and China and Denmark, and like Denmark yesterday just said that they're going to be 100% renewable by the year 2050. We're like I think our 2050 projection is like 60% or some shit like that. It's like half-assed because the boat anchor party is just holding us back. They're about as valuable as a boat anchor, in my opinion, and they're just as effective as at weighting us down and keeping us locked in place. They won't let us go anywhere. They don't want to see this country truly succeed in every way imaginable, because they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be sitting on the sideline going, you know what, I didn't understand that, and I fought tooth and nail to prevent this, but by gum, it's helping. You know, we're really kicking some butt now. Our economy's roaring. The people are happy. They're employed. They got free health care. Gee, what a world that would be. That would be horrible, wouldn't it? Because some asshole CEO of an insurance company wouldn't be getting a big bonus check. Darn. And some grandma somewhere would have to decide between her rent and her medicine. Or some child would be dying of cancer because they either A, couldn't get an insurance policy, or B, were told by the insurance company that that wasn't going to be covered. You know, what kind of a world do we live in that these Christians are allowed to go around and hide behind their Bible shield and spew all their Christian values and judge everybody else, but never live up to Christ's example? You know, the what would Jesus do question. That is a great question that they should ask themselves. And hopefully, if they had the right image of Christ and they knew his actual example, they would conduct themselves a lot differently. Because the Christ I know wouldn't be turning their back on the fellow man, letting them die instead of giving them medical care. He healed the poor and the sick for free. From what I remember about Christ, he also didn't, sit in judgment of people constantly. It was all about forgiveness, and he also wasn't starting unnecessary wars. And the right to bear arms, I don't believe that was a Christian value. I don't believe that, there was no guns in the Bible. So that whole Second Amendment thing certainly didn't come from the Bible. And I certainly don't think that, while I think that people should be able to possess a handgun, I think this unhealthy obsession with guns and the violence that goes along with it is certainly not Christ-like. So, I think these Christians, these so-called Christians, need to take a good look in the mirror and figure out exactly what Christ was all about and make sure they follow that, since the root word of Christian is Christ. But anyways, I have to get going. So it was really nice talking with you guys this morning. And like I said, shoot us an email, mymorningdrive@shredoftruth.com. And make sure and visit our website, shredoftruth.com. We're also on Twitter, shredotruth.com, and on Facebook. You can get on the website and click on the Facebook symbol, and it'll take you to our Facebook page. It is Wednesday, March 28th, and I am out of here.